Hey y'all, Mark from Atlassian here. Is this what your calendar looks like? This was my calendar from a few years ago. As you can tell, I was a little busy at the time. Well, the problem is most of our calendars look like this. As knowledge workers, we spend like 50% or more of our time in meetings. That's a lot of time. And honestly, not all of them are sunshine and rainbows. A good portion of our meetings are, lack of better ways of saying it, pretty shitty. So I've come up with a couple different tips just from my experience that really can help make meetings better. And they're little things anyone can do. So let's review them real quick. Let's go through them. So tip number one, start your meeting 5 minutes late. So there are tools out there that allow you to end a meeting 5 minutes early. But the problem is we've all been in those meetings and all of a sudden the time just keeps going. We look at our watch and we say, shouldn't we be ending by now? But we just keep going until the end of the hour and then we're rushing to our next one. Your participants will absolutely love you if you give them 5 minute reprieve at the very beginning. They show up to a meeting. It's happened to me. I showed up and I was like, where is everyone? And I realized, hey, it's starting 5 minutes later. I can breathe. Easy tip, 5 minutes later. Tip number two, actually add a description to your invite. I can't tell you how many meetings are on my calendar that have an empty description box. It's an easy thing. Add a few things. Why are we having the meeting? Who needs to be at the meeting? What's the outcome of the meeting? Give me context as a participant. So many times we're forwarded meeting invites that sometimes we shouldn't actually be on, but because there's no context, we don't know whether or not to attend or not. So we do, and your calendar starts to look like my old calendar. Tip number three, actually send out an agenda beforehand. Best advice, if you can do it, is to send out an agenda 24 hours in advance. If you can't do that, at least put together one. This helps you be very intentional with your time. So many times we fill the space we're given. We have a 60-minute meeting. We're going to take up every minute of that and then some, even if the content could be reviewed in 30. So as a facilitator, make sure you actually set aside specific time blocks. What are we going to cover? And here's the bonus here. If you send out an agenda beforehand, you're going to get those people who are introverts, who are going to be able to come in and be like, all right, I've had a chance to review the content. I feel comfortable now talking about it versus being placed in the spot to actually talk about content right then and there. So helps to have a better conversation, structured conversation, and you can actually get to your outcomes. Tip number four, actually have some deliberate time to review the content in the session. How many times you send out a meeting invite and then you send out an email saying, please review this content before we meet? How many people actually do that? Well, here at Atlassian, we actually have some really cool ways of dealing with that. We actually will put together all the thoughts that we want to share on a Confluence page. We'll send it out. We'll give, of course, but then in the meeting, we'll give the first 15 minutes to say, all right, everyone go read the Confluence page, add comments, add questions, you name it, go through it. And then what we end up doing is spend the rest of the time not necessarily recovering the content like we would normally do when this happens. We actually spend time on the questions. So we actually spend time on the meat of what we want to get done there. So again, make sure you build in that time. Don't assume people are going to do the pre-read. Otherwise, you're going to get people trying to make guesses in terms of what they want to share. And tip number five, actually determine if you need the meeting. There are so many meetings, I still get them today, where I look and it says, couldn't we do that through another means? Do we actually need to get together for that? And it's even with one person. So again, as you think about things, start thinking, can I do this with an email? Can I do this with a Slack message or a Teams message or what have you? Is there another mechanism I can use for this? Meetings should be our last option, but you shouldn't completely try to avoid meetings. Meetings are a magical thing that can help actually create amazing content if you come in with a description and you come in with prepared agendas and so forth. So don't feel like you don't have to do a meeting. But the thing is, that shouldn't be your default. Look for other mechanisms to get the content around. That way you can have a calendar that looks a little bit like this. You can see I've gotten a lot better at the async collaboration. I'm spending my time more effectively. I'm being more efficient with it. And I'm having the right meetings when I need to have them, and I'm doing everything else asynchronously. It's a wondrous thing. So if you like this content, go ahead, check out the Medium article in the first comment below that's entitled A Manifesto for Better Meetings. This is an article I put out there just a few days ago, just some of my musings on this topic. And if you have your own ideas on what makes a better meeting, share it out there. We'd love to hear them. What tips and tricks do you have? Final thought, little bonus tip for y'all. If you ever find yourself in a meeting that's a prep meeting for another meeting, which is a prep meeting for another meeting, just hit the decline button. Don't even go, okay? Best for everybody. Just don't attend. All right, folks. Talk to y'all later. Thanks.